Did this plane's pilot escape unknown forces in the Devil's Triangle? Can these submarine scientists explain the fate of sailors and their ships that disappear there? 5 US Navy planes like these never came home. Were they victims of some unearthly power? Mysteries from the files of Arthur C. Clarke, author of 2001 and inventor of the communications satellite. Now in retreat in Sri Lanka, he ponders the riddles of this and other worlds.
These fishermen land their catch at dawn every morning near my beach villa in Sri Lanka. They know that the Indian Ocean holds countless dangers for even the most experienced seafarers. A chance wave or storm could wreck their flimsy boats and claim them at any moment. According to some writers, these treacherous seas hold few dangers compared to the area of the Atlantic between Bermuda and Florida. This is the notorious Bermuda Triangle. Since 1945, over 100 ships and planes are said to have vanished there, not only without trace, but often in mysterious circumstances.
Businessman Bruce Gernon commutes all over Florida in his private plane. There's one flight he'll never forget.
I encountered this cloud out over the Bahama Bank, and I saw this tremendous buildup of electricity inside it. The deeper I got, the more electricity I could see. And they weren't lightning bolts, they were just bright, pure white flashes.
Gernon found himself flying along a tunnel in the strange cloud. It was just wide enough for his little plane.
It sort of had like a silver lining that you often see on clouds. And the other end was clear blue sky with the sun shining through. I had to concentrate very hard on the other end, which appeared to be like 12 miles away and narrowing rapidly. Well, when I came out, I couldn't see any horizon or the ocean or the sky. It was pure gray, and I'd call it an electronic fog. I tried to get a position fix. I asked my co-pilot, and he was unable to do it. And then we discovered that all the electronic instruments were malfunctioning. Then these huge slits opened up parallel to the direction of the flight, showing the clear skies.
At last, air traffic control made radio contact. They told Gernon he was much closer to Miami than he believed possible.
And I looked at my watch and the airplane clock, and I had only been flying for 30 minutes. So according to my calculations, I was probably 90 miles away from Miami. I told him he had the wrong airplane. Then after my eyes started to focus, I could see directly below me was the island of Miami Beach. I think that when I entered that tunnel vortex, the aircraft was moved forward through time and space, about 100 miles, or 30 minutes, or both. At the time, I felt I wouldn't have made it because it appeared to be a powerful electronic force that could have damaged the aircraft beyond repair and probably crashed. And the Bermuda Triangle may have claimed another victim.
Miami is perched on the tip of the USA, literally on the edge of the Bermuda Triangle. Newspaper reporters of the Miami Herald know that they must look to the sea for some of their best copy.
This is Vicki Silverberg at the Miami Herald. I'm just checking to see if everything's running smoothly today. Any distress calls or emergencies? No, nothing in the Bermuda Triangle, right? Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.
The executive editor of the Miami Herald holds a watching brief. Doug Clifton is a veteran of triangle tales.
The Bermuda Triangle has got to be one of the longest-running stories in Herald history, I guess. It started way back when a reporter was doing a kind of an update, and he, for the first time, noted that there was a confluence of these kinds of disappearances.
The reporter, E.V.W. Jones, said he found the losses occurred within a triangle. Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico were at its 3 points. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle was born.
Since Mr. Jones's first piece, the stories about the Bermuda Triangle seemed never to stop when events occurred. A boat missing, a boat late to report, a plane veering off course. It was always in the Bermuda Triangle.
The strangest and most tragic case of all dates back to December 1945. 5 Avenger planes belonging to the United States Navy took off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on a training flight. Neither the 14 men who flew off that day nor their aircraft were ever seen again. And even now, the mystery they left behind them lives on in the hearts and minds of their loved ones and their comrades in arms.
Every year since 1945, a commemoration service has paid tribute to Flight 19. The flight should have been uneventful. Avenger planes like these were tried and tested. The weather on takeoff was good, the forecast was clear, the crews were experienced and the planes well maintained. The 5 planes were on a routine combat practice over the ocean. No one expected any problems. The commander of Flight 19 was Captain Taylor. The first sign of trouble came when he radioed in to say he was lost. Don Poole had trained Flight 19.
I immediately went to the tower and heard Lieutenant Taylor, who was an officer in charge of this flight, and he thought he was in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, good heavens, take a heading of 091 out of Fort Lauderdale, you're not going to be near the Gulf of Mexico.
Captain Taylor seemed to have no idea where he was.
I saw that he was very confused, and that's when I started broadcasting to him, please head west into the sun. If your compass is out, forget it, head west. You're going to hit the coast of Florida.
But it appeared that Captain Taylor wasn't listening.
He was hopelessly lost because he kept changing his headings. Go west a while, fine, I thought that's it. And then he'd say, no, I think we're in the Gulf, we're going to turn around, we're going to head east.
Jim Ward was waiting in his rescue boat for orders. He heard all the radio transmissions.
Finally, they said, we're going to give you a direct order. We want you to fly directly into the sun. And if you're over the Gulf of Mexico, you're going to hit the coast of Texas. If you're over the Atlantic Ocean, you're going to hit the coast of Florida. So he acknowledged the direction by the radio. And then they asked him, well, how much gasoline do you think you had left? He said, I think I have about 20 minutes. And we watched the clock tick down, and when 20 minutes went by, we knew they must be down someplace, but we didn't know where.
Those left behind still wonder what went wrong. The bereaved families and comrades have only the Bermuda Triangle to blame.
Show our respect for the members of Flight 19 who gave their lives in the service of their country. These men will never be forgotten.
One member of the search and rescue team was Dave White.
We couldn't believe it. You know, one plane going down, engine failure or something, okay, but 5 of our planes missing, impossible. At 6 o'clock we took off. They had drawn up a grid for us, and each one of us instructors took 5 or 6 people with us, and we flew out about 150 or 200 miles from here. My first run was up near Palm Beach, and we went up there and then went out over the ocean for about 200 miles, turned around, came back, nothing.
We searched on the boat end of it for at least 2 weeks. We had patterns that we followed, trying to cover the whole ocean, while there were many, many planes out searching all over the place. B-19s and all the planes that could get into the air, but never found a bit of wreckage, no gasoline slipped, no pillows floating or anything. There was nothing found.
An exhaustive official investigation was conducted by Captain Richard Roberts.
Well, it's still a mystery because we have not found an airplane. Digging into all the facts we could get at the time, we could only go so far, and our conclusion was we didn't know where they went, but they just vanished. So you might as well just say they flew off into the wild blue yonder.
Believers in the Bermuda Triangle have inflated their case by compiling lists of ships and planes that have come to grief in the area and anywhere near it.
This commercial passenger plane was en route from Puerto Rico to Miami. It disappeared and no wreckage was ever found. A millionaire's sailing yacht, the Revenok, set off on a short pleasure trip to Miami from Key West. She never returned. This naval submarine was equipped with radar and sonar, but while patrolling the Bermuda Triangle, the USS Tigrone went mysteriously off course and collided with a reef. Joshua Slocum owned the Spray, one of the world's most experienced sailors. Why did he vanish off the Miami coast? But the facts tell a different story. Experts claim the airliner ran out of fuel over the Gulf of Mexico. The Revenok sailed into a hurricane, according to Coast Guards. The Tigrone's accident was not unheard of in the Navy. Sailors didn't think it at all mysterious. And even Slocum's own son believed his father simply failed to weather his last storm.
Lloyd's of London are the world's foremost insurers of ships and planes. If there's something out of the ordinary about the Bermuda Triangle, the experts there are certain to know.
At Lloyd's of London, records of the shipping losses are kept for decades. At Lloyd's Maritime, Norman Hook sifts fact from fiction.
Quite a number of the inquiries we receive relate to vessels which are reportedly lost in the so-called Bermuda Triangle.
The Marine Sulphur Queen is a classic case for Bermuda Triangle supporters.
The Marine Sulphur Queen was on voyage from Texas through the Gulf of Mexico, through the Florida Straits and then out into the Atlantic. She was last reported off Key West.
Search and rescue teams found no wreckage and declared the loss of the Marine Sulphur Queen a mystery. But later, some flotsam did surface, carried north on the Gulf Stream.
The Marine Sulphur Queen is regarded as a marine casualty. There's nothing mysterious about her loss, really, because wreckage has been found, and obviously the wreck does lie at the bottom of the seabed, probably southeast of Key West. The Anita was last reported, I believe, about 150 miles southeast of Cape May. Nothing ever was found of that vessel, nor were any survivors ever found, nor any bodies ever located. By coincidence, another Norwegian bulk carrier, the Norse Variant, was in a very, very similar location when she was overwhelmed by such severe weather conditions that she sank with the loss of all her crew except for one seaman, Stein Gabrielsen.
Gabrielsen was lucky to survive. He spent 3 days on a life raft before being picked up. His testimony shed light on the fate of the Norse Variant's sister ship. No supernatural forces had been at work on the Anita.
His story was that the vessel he was on was overwhelmed by such severe weather conditions, the vessel sank very, very quickly. So it was presumed that the Anita suffered the same fate. Some people may have thought that the Bermuda Triangle as such may have claimed these vessels, but for us, looking through the records, it was obviously weather conditions which determined the fate of these two vessels. There are no more losses in that particular area, the Bermuda Triangle area of the Atlantic, than anywhere else in the world.
Even the most famous Bermuda Triangle case of all, Flight 19, yields to meticulous investigation. John Meyer believes he knows how Flight 19 came to grief. In 1992, searchers thought they might have found the answer. But these 5 Avengers were not Flight 19. Another ditched plane was raised from elsewhere on the seabed. Again, hopes were dashed. The planes are still missing, but Meyer believes his diligent research could update the official report drawn up by Captain Roberts.
I estimate the winds were coming out of a 220-degree heading.
Meyer has spent 13 years plotting every aspect of Flight 19's fateful trip. The wind speed, ocean currents and weather conditions all played their part.
When they got to this point, they climbed.
He can now say with confidence exactly where the planes went and when.
With no other land in sight, as you can see, there were several things. The wind was coming from a different direction and a different speed than they had flight planned. They had a leader that was confused for whatever reason. Then we had the kids flying into a bad storm system, and then we had nighttime on top of that. In spite of that, the flight would have come back and hit the mainland based on this track here, had not the first airplane run out of gas at 6:04. Well, Robbie, this is essentially the way I've figured the plane.
Meyer thinks he knows the point where the first plane ditched. He believes the other planes flew off in different directions in the desperate hope that one might make it home. Each now lies alone on the Atlantic seabed.
The mystery is being able to prove, which I think I can on paper, what happened to Flight 19, where they went, why they went where they went, why the pilots thought what they did, and where the aircraft finally came to rest on the ocean floor.
The U.S. Coast Guard cutters ply the seas off the Florida coast day and night. Their crews know every stretch of sea and the ocean's every mood. Coast Guard Jim Howe is skeptical of the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, we don't know if there is a Bermuda Triangle or not. What we know is that a lot of folks that we go out to rescue get in trouble either because of bad weather or because of bad judgment on their part. We've never really seen anything paranormal in these waters, but we do see a lot of people who get in trouble because of natural phenomena such as high winds, heavy seas, or because of the current such as the Gulf Stream, which can whisk someone in trouble pretty far away from where they initially start out. One of the things that happens in the southeast U.S. off of Miami, off of Florida, is the weather is usually pretty pleasant, and you get a lot of boaters down here. It's basically the boating capital of America. You can boat year-round. The problem is that in the summer, for example, you can get a lot of thunderstorms that come through, and they can often crop up on short notice.
Hundreds of shipwrecked mariners are rescued every year, but the Coast Guard videos show only natural forces at work.
You can go from a perfectly calm day like we have today to very, very rough weather just in a matter of minutes. 8, 10-foot seas, 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds. And those winds can capsize a boat or get people in trouble, swamp a boat. We also have hurricanes that roll through here once or twice a year, and people can get caught in the real bad weather there. And that, of course, is much more traumatic and often leads to ships going down.
Good fix, minute 07 holds you 400 yards to the right of track. Recommend course 358 to regain by minute 10 at speed 13 knots.
1 decimal 98.
1.98I.
North Jetty, Miami Beach, 5 decimals 66.
We don't really know where the myth of the Bermuda Triangle came from. What we see are natural phenomenon like the weather, and also we see people who just don't take proper safety precautions. We actually came across a boat once that was lost at sea, and they called up in a panic. They were trying to navigate from Miami to the Bahamas using a placemat from a dinner restaurant. and they just thought that they could just drive it like they drive a car. It just doesn't work that way. It's very dangerous out here. The elements can surprise you. It's not like driving a car down a road.
Amidst all the hype and flim-flam, a few scientists claim to have found some real phenomena to investigate.
In America's largest wave tank at Texas A&M University, a unique experiment is about to begin. Eruptions of gas on the seabed may explain disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle. The man behind the idea is Dr. Richard McIver.
I was a scientist with one of the major oil companies, and I had been reading in one of the offshore journals about the large number of floating drilling rigs and drilling ships that had been sunk when they drilled into shallow gas, and gas came rushing up and either sank them or caught them on fire. And about the same time, I read the account of the Marine Sulphur Queen, that 429-foot tanker that disappeared without a trace in good weather out of the Florida Straits. And at that point, I asked the question, why couldn't naturally occurring gas blowouts sink ships?
The scientists are using a scaled-down tanker, carefully calibrated to match the real thing. Gas pipes have been installed on the wave tank floor to simulate spontaneous gas explosions from the seabed. Dr. Wayne Dunlap is in charge of events.
Well, we have a vessel. It's a scale model of tanker. It's a perfect scale model, and it's ballasted just like a tanker would be, so it's floating the distance in the water that a tanker would. What we're going to do is turn on the gas at a low pressure. That means that we'll get probably smaller bubbles and not as many of them, and we'll see what's happening. Then we're going to increase the pressure. We'll get larger bubbles, more bubbles, and continue to increase the pressure and see what effect we get out of it. If the hypothesis is correct, the ship will sink.
Dr. McIver believes escaping gas can bring down aeroplanes as well as ships.
Well, my feeling is that the airplane would experience tremendous turbulence, which could cause the airplane to go down. But more important, perhaps, is that when the gas is diluted 5 to 10 times with air, then it becomes a combustible mixture and could ignite on the exhaust of the airplane.
Mike, go ahead and check out the camera.
Okay, I'm going to turn it on now. Okay, that's about 20 psi. We did it. We did it.
Well, it seems evident from what I've seen so far that we can sink a ship. Now, as you saw, this ship did rotate to the side, and it took on some water and sank. And we will try the same experiment now, but with solid tops on it, and so that it can't rotate and take up any water. We'll see what happens to it.
This is the first really scientific experiment we've done where we've had scale models and wonderful equipment. But to see a tanker model that was completely sealed off with air inside that was swamped by the gas bubble shows that the buoyancy is dramatically reduced in water when it's charged with bubbles.
So does Dr. McIver now believe in the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, I don't think the Bermuda Triangle is so unique as far as gases are concerned. I think the reason that so many ships and planes disappear there is that the ship density and aircraft density is so high. We know that ships and planes disappear around the world. It just so happens that this is a place where we get a lot of publicity.
I believe the Bermuda Triangle is a literary hoax invented by writers and embroidered by interested parties. It's also a self-fulfilling prophecy. Amateur sailors can't resist the challenge of dangerous waters, so they set sail defiantly and inexpertly and learn that the sea is unforgiving.